Imagine sitting in the most powerful office on earth, the White House. You have the ability to influence the American government, shape the economy, and decide the fate of millions. And for all that power, you get a paycheck. Sounds small, right? But here's the twist. The story of the U.S. president's salary isn't just about numbers. It's about power, tradition, controversy, and secrets hidden behind the closed doors of the White House. From George Washington's $25,000 in 1789 to today's $400,000, each dollar tells a story. And trust me, some of these stories will shock you. Today, we're taking a journey through history, uncovering the salaries of every U.S. president, from the very first to the current occupant of the White House. You'll discover why some presidents accepted more, why some gave it away, and how the perks that came with the job often overshadowed the paycheck itself. By the end, you won't just know the numbers. You'll understand what it really meant to be paid for power. 1. George Washington. George Washington didn't just make history. He set the rules. His salary? $25,000 a year. In today's money, that's about $800,000. Not bad for the first president. But here's the fascinating part. Washington refused any extra gifts or bribes, insisting the new American government remain a true democracy. He also had one of the first White House perks, though technically it wasn't called the White House yet. Washington traveled extensively, had staff, and used his home as an office and symbol of power. It was clear, the salary wasn't just money, it was a statement. 2. John Adams. Adams inherited Washington's office and his salary debates. He earned $25,000 too, but the country was changing fast. There was political tension over pay. Federalists wanted a higher salary to attract talent, while others feared it was too monarchical. Adams quietly handled it, keeping his focus on governance while navigating rising partisanship. 3. Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson shocked the nation by lowering the presidential salary. Why? He was frugal, believing in simple government. He wanted to show the presidency wasn't about personal gain. Yet he still benefited from the perks, a residence in the White House, travel allowances, and a growing staff to manage the executive branch. Fun fact: Jefferson often hosted informal dinners and political salons at his own expense, blending personal wealth with presidential duty. For James Madison. Madison led the nation through the War of 1812. Salaries during wartime were tricky. The government struggled, yet the presidential salary remained a symbol of stability. Madison's pay was the same as Jefferson's, but he relied heavily on personal wealth to manage the White House during a war. This shows an early tension. The salary alone could not sustain the demands of the office. 5. James Monroe. Monroe's $8,000 to $25,000 salary, depending on adjustments and context, reflected a growing nation. He expanded the role of the president in diplomacy and state building. Monroe also enjoyed perks like official retreats, a dedicated staff, and public recognition, power that money alone could not buy. 6. John Quincy Adams. Adams was one of the wealthier presidents, which made his salary less critical personally, but symbolically, it mattered. He earned around $25,000 and often clashed with Congress over raises. His story highlights how presidential pay was not just about personal survival, but a reflection of American values. 7. Andrew Jackson. Jackson's populist presidency brought attention to the salary itself. He earned $25,000, but often faced criticism from the public and press for spending. Jackson's story reveals the early tension between personal wealth, official pay, and public scrutiny, a theme that repeats throughout history. 8. Martin Van Buren. During the Panic of 1837, Van Buren's salary became a political talking point. He earned $25,000, yet faced criticism as the economy struggled. The lesson: presidential pay often intersects with public perception, not just personal need. 9. William Henry Harrison. Harrison's presidency was tragically short, just 31 days. But even in that brief time, his salary of $25,000 was set and uncontroversial. Yet his death sparked debates on succession and whether the incoming president should receive a full salary immediately. 10. John Tyler. Tyler inherited the office unexpectedly. His salary stayed $25,000, but he set precedents for how the office transitions financially during sudden changes. 11. James K. Polk. Polk earned $25,000, the standard for decades. But he used his salary modestly, focusing resources on national expansion and administration. Polk's presidency reminds us that the salary is just a fraction of what being president truly costs. 12. Zachary Taylor. Taylor, a military hero, relied on his military pension alongside his presidential salary. He earned $25,000. Yet his financial story underscores how outside wealth often supplemented official pay. 13. Millard Fillmore. Fillmore received $25,000 and expanded the role of staff support. He also benefited from White House perks like hosting diplomats and managing the residence, demonstrating that indirect benefits often outweighed the salary itself. 14. Franklin Pierce and James Buchanan. Both presidents earned $25,000. Pierce faced financial hardship due to personal mismanagement, highlighting that the official salary was modest in some contexts. Buchanan, though wealthy, symbolized stability and tradition in pay and perks. 15. Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln's salary remained $25,000 during the Civil War, roughly $450,000 today. But here's the cinematic twist. Lincoln famously refused extra gifts and used personal funds to host soldiers and families. His salary became a backdrop to one of the most challenging periods in American history. Did you know Lincoln once turned down a gold medal that would have added thousands to his pay? That's how symbolic his salary was. 16. Andrew Johnson. Johnson's $25,000 salary reflected post-war Reconstruction, but his struggles with Congress made salary debates public. It was less about money and more about legitimacy and authority. 17. Ulysses S. Grant. Grant earned $50,000, a major increase reflecting inflation and post-Civil War growth. Grant also enjoyed new perks, presidential retreats, better White House staff, and international respect. The salary now started to reflect global expectations of power. 18. Rutherford B. Hayes to Grover Cleveland. Salaries remained around $50,000. Presidents like Cleveland emphasized ethical spending. He once donated a portion of his pay during crises, a reminder that salary and morality often intertwined in the White House. 19. William McKinley to William Howard Taft. Salaries increased slowly, $50,000 to $75,000. These presidents managed a growing American government, expanding staff and international responsibilities. Taft even famously installed a bathtub in the White House, but that perk wasn't counted in the salary. 20. Woodrow Wilson to Herbert Hoover. Presidential salaries rose modestly to $75,000 to $100,000. Wilson faced the challenges of World War I, Hoover the Great Depression. In both cases, salary was symbolic. The true power and cost of office far exceeded the paycheck. 21. Franklin D. Roosevelt. FDR earned $75,000 for much of his presidency. During the Great Depression, he refused raises, emphasizing solidarity with Americans. Yet the perks were extraordinary. Air Force One predecessors, extensive staff, and the White House as a fully functioning hub of government. 22. Harry Truman to Richard Nixon. Salaries increased to $200,000 by the 1960s. Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon all enjoyed $200,000 and official allowances. But off the record, books, speeches, and personal investments often added far more to their wealth. 23. Gerald Ford to George W. Bush. Salary stabilized at $200,000 to $400,000. Bush's era saw transparency. The public became aware of presidential pensions, perks, and post office earnings. 24. Barack Obama. Obama earned $400,000 per year with a $50,000 expense account. Perks included the full White House staff, transportation, and security. his post-presidency earnings would far exceed his salary due to books and speaking engagements. 25. Donald Trump. Trump famously donated his $400,000 annual salary each year. The media speculated about tax strategies, wealth, and unofficial income streams. The story shows how salary can be symbolic. Trump had the means to give it away while controlling the perks. 26. Joe Biden. Biden earns $400,000 per year with a traditional $50,000 expense account, plus all the classic perks of the White House. His salary, like every president, is just a piece of the larger power puzzle: influence, staff, global recognition, and historical legacy. From George Washington's $25,000 to today's $400,000, presidential salaries are more than just numbers. They're symbols of power, responsibility, and the evolution of the American government. Every dollar tells a story of war, peace, scandal, generosity, and leadership. The White House is not just a home or office. It's a stage where money, power, and history intersect. And the presidential paycheck? It's a reminder that with great power comes not just great responsibility, but also, sometimes, great secrets. If you want to uncover more hidden truths about U.S. presidents, the White House, and the American government, smash that like button and subscribe, because every story has a secret waiting to be revealed.